Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's The Business Program. I'm Scott Feinberg, awards columnist for The Hollywood Reporter. And before we are joined by our guests, I want to let you know that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is a nonprofit organization that relies entirely on donations to provide emergency assistance and free educational programs to SAG-AFTRA artists. This conversation is made possible thanks to the generosity of our supporters. Over the past year, the foundation has given nearly $7 million in COVID relief to more than 7,000 performers. If you are a SAG-AFTRA artist and need help, please ask. And if you can help, please give. Information can be found in the description of this video. And thank you for your support. And now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce the principal folks behind HartBeat Productions, one of the most exciting production companies in the business. Bryan Smiley, Mike Stein, Melissa Smith, and Kevin Hart. Thank you all for making the time, and great to see you. So, Kevin, I want to start with you because it is not a coincidence that Hart is part of the title of this company. It actually goes back to 2009, from what I understand, and just you and two people. And so I wonder if you can just share with our viewers, what were the original motivations and what were the original goals?
Well, I think when you say original, let's just, I want everybody to understand, of course, we're talking about just the beginning, but how times have changed and the direction and the want and goal behind the company has changed since then drastically. In the beginning, it was just about finding a way to be a part of my own creative, right? How do I form something that can ultimately be responsible for what I want to do in the business. And it just started with the groundwork. It started with the idea of producing my own television shows and my own films, and finding a way just to create work for me, because there was a time when I didn't know where that work was coming from and how often it would be brought to the table. So that was the goal. That was the idea.
I was going to say, maybe you can familiarize, viewers. You've been a huge presence in people's lives for a long time, but I guess maybe it might help to pinpoint where things were for you in 2009.
Absolutely. I believe that in 2009, things weren't consistent. Right. It wasn't like I had the world of movies and TV knocking down my door and, the success that it is today. It definitely wasn't yesterday. So the world of stand-up comedy was present, and that's where I was rocking, and I saw a fan base that was growing. I saw a fan base that was really showing up and showing out. And, it was still odd that I wasn't getting the attention and response from the entertainment business that I thought that I should. So the reason once again, for the development of the company was to hopefully produce things for me, put me in a position to where I could just have some ideas brought to the table from a creative that were for me, that could put me in the limelight and allow me to be seen.
Now, is it a coincidence that 2009 was also the year of your first stand-up special, Kevin Hart, I'm a Grown Little Man, and it's at that time, or for a while, I believe, the only one that you did not own the rights to? Was there some realization around that time that it would be better to have more control over what I do?
I would be a liar and say yes if I said yes, right? Like I would be lying. No, there was no realization. There was no understanding of that. I mean, at that point, you're kind of oblivious. You're oblivious to the things that you can do. You're oblivious to the world of ownership. You're oblivious to how easy the world of producing and development could be. And can be, and also the world of relationships at that time, right? Like I wasn't aware, I was oblivious, but I was in Los Angeles. And in Los Angeles, the one thing that you do have is you got a world where the perception is always bigger than the reality. And I started to realize everybody had a company. Everybody had a company, but nobody had an office. Everybody, everybody had a business card and no business, right? Like it was more about what I'm making it seem like I had. So the world of fake it until you make it was real. So why not? Why
Well,
not?
and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I related to what you're saying. I have to ask you. I mean, everybody also has a production company. It feels like in
Absolutely.
town, but not very many of them are actually much more than vanity things. They're not producing a lot of stuff, and so I just wonder, was that something you kind of saw also that there's, for decades it's been the case, you know?
That's exactly what it was. That's I mean, you hit the nail right on the head. That's exactly what it was. It was, well, I need to have a company too. Why shouldn't I have a company too? And why shouldn't I tell people to call my office when there wasn't an office? It was a world of faking it until you make it, and fortunately that at that time, myself and Leland Wigington, who just helped me within the idea of starting the company and just, as far as getting my ducks in a row of how to create the LLC and get the paperwork and ownership within the name. All of that stuff is just pretty much what I had, nothing more. So I just want to be very honest and direct for the people that are listening, watching, to just understand it. In the beginning stages, the well-oiled machine that we now are, we weren't then. And then it was just, how can I generate something for me, because nobody's calling. Nobody's calling, and the work is definitely not coming in the way I thought it would or should be. Stand-up comedy was it.
Well, let's talk about and bring in some of the folks who have grown the company with you. And let's start with Bryan, if we can. Bryan, I know you were previously at New Regency, then you and Baron Davis co-founded No Label Productions, and also working at Columbia. We also, as a point of pride for the Hollywood Reporter, a Next Gen 2018 class member. Right. But talk about, if you would, what it means now, when, why and how it came to be that you joined HartBeat as president of film and TV, and just what that actually means on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I mean, I came to the company because, ultimately there was an opportunity to join something that I knew would be life-changing, impactful in my career. And quite frankly, if we do our jobs right, create impact across the entire town, right? I mean, as you know, very few people, brands can actually drive production and deals the way that Kevin and a few others, can do. So for me, it was like, how do I come into this, at this time, a pretty well-oiled machine, add value, and really kind of take the mandates from Kevin to help expand development across film and TV. I think we're doing some great things in TV, but we really wanted to double and triple down there. And I knew for us that meant bringing on all-star exec like Mike Stein, who's on this panel now, to really help us build off that business. And Mike, as he'll talk about, has done incredible work. And then on the film side, it was like, we have these great vehicles for Kevin. But as Kevin says, how do we leverage the opportunity to create great vehicles for other amazing talent across town? And that's what we're very, very bullish on. So I think even today, if you look at our development pipeline, we have something like 60 projects set up across film and TV around town. And we're really proud of that hustle. And I think people are starting to see how that's paying off.
Well, and I want to follow up on another thing that you have spoken about in the past, which is that at previous places that you've worked, you might have found very few other people of color at a high level making decisions about what gets made, right? And here, not only is the boss a person of color, but so are a lot of people in the decision-making process or helping bring things to reality. And I guess it's obviously clear in terms of that would obviously make an impact on which stories eventually get told. And so can you just talk about that aspect of, not only creating opportunities for other artists of color, but even just behind the scenes for executives?
I mean, it's deeply, deeply important. I think there's often these conversations, especially around like award seasons, about, not enough diversity. But I think you pointed out, Scott, so much of it starts in the boardroom, right? There needs to be buyers and executives that understand the cultural nuances from people of color that can actually green light movies and TV shows. In my career, very, very, very few, if, I'm trying to think of any that I work with that had that ability. So coming over to work at HartBeat for Kevin was hugely impactful for what I wanted to do personally, because to your point, we have to be the opportunity for so many other creators who just aren't understood by the broader entertainment community. And we really pride ourselves in that. And a lot of our work and our development slate reflects our dedication in working with, people of color and women and others, and really getting their voices out there.
Absolutely. You mentioned Mike, and Mike, I'm coming to you next because really the TV output of HartBeat is incredible, and a milestone week for you guys this week with this great Netflix release of True Story coming up on the 24th, and embargo lifted last night, so people are now able to talk a little bit about it. And I know that I binged it in one sitting, so it worked on me. But I would like to ask you, Mike, to just talk about just the big picture goals of TV before we come more specifically to True Story.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for those comments on the show. We're super excited. I mean, I think big picture for us, on the TV side, it's about activating, Kevin obviously on screen with something like True Story, but then also really, really pushing him forward as a producer. I think people underestimate, just how involved he is in these shows, in these concepts, in this company, not just in the projects that he's in front of the camera for, but as a producer, putting the pieces together, helping us, push forward, set projects up. So for us, it's about, figuring out how we can, grow the HartBeat footprint, within the TV landscape that, works for us as, producers and for Kevin as talent.
And, I want to double down on something that you brought up about just Kevin's involvement. I know we sort of talked a moment ago about how some of these production companies are it's basically name only and not producing very much. Kevin, can you just share, because I've had the opportunity to interview you on my podcast for The Hollywood Reporter, and I've studied a lot about you. Can you take me through an average day for you, and also why it would involve a mobile command center?
Of course. Before I do that, man, I just want to echo one thing that was said, and just take the time just to truly highlight my team. And I know you'll get to Melissa in a second, but I think the real beauty behind not only what you asked, but was presented was just my reason for growing and my reason for hiring, right? It was soon after I wanted to create for myself that I realized the bigger picture within the company was being bigger and better than me, and making IP for the town, creating opportunities for the town and partnerships across the town. So, when they tell you that we got over 60 projects set up, and, the world in TV and film and the attachment of HartBeat production to it is real, it's because of the weapons that I've assembled underneath this umbrella. So between execs and creative minds, I think the collaborative effort that they have all brought to the table, and just really making this machine move at a consistent and well-respected pace is truly what I'm in awe of, right? Because the vision is no longer a vision, it's the reality. So, I just wanted to make sure that I echo what was said by Bryan, and just one more thing, about Mike, which is that's what we're in love with. We're in love that it started here, and we've seen these pieces to the puzzle just be added, and we've seen people execute and execute well by just being supported and doing the job at hand. So the fact that I have the opportunity to align myself with these amazing individuals that you're speaking to today is truly the blessing and the biggest and best thing about my moment and the space. Now we talk about my day. I mean, Jesus, I don't know how much time you have. But
what time are you waking up?
It's a shit show. I'm up at 4:30. I'm up at 4:30. I'm working out in my gym from 4:45 to about 6:15. The reason why is because that start to the morning. It has to be way before traffic and way before people go to the office, because 9 times out of 10, I done pack stuff in the beginning of my day to justify how I can make the rest of the day stay on track. So, our partnership is serious that we have, where I own the channel. I got a radio show, so my radio show has to be done 2 days a week. And it's Tuesdays and Thursdays, but the timeline doesn't work for me half the time. So I end up pre-recording the episodes at about 7 a.m. So that 7 a.m. time is from 7 to 9. I may be on air. I get done that's in the can. If I'm not shooting, if I'm not filming, the goal is to get to the office, getting to the office and just getting an understanding of our lay of the land. And, it's just about being present, right? Whether I'm hands-on with anything or not, that office space and your presence in it is valuable for them to see you, walk around, for you to pop your head in, for you just to be visible and visibly seen on a day-to-day is so strong and powerful to the partners that we have underneath that umbrella. So if I'm able to do that, that's where I am. If I'm not, 9 times out of 10, I'm probably on a set. If I'm shooting, well, that day is full of set work, but there's several stops in between production, which is why I think DPs, assistant directors, and directors get frustrated with me, because I'm a business too. So I'm constantly, guys, 30 minutes, I got to stop. I got to zoom. Hey guys, I know we just shot for 2 hours and we're about to break in an hour, but I need 15. I got to break away. I got to go over some stuff. So I'm constantly on the phone and talking about our lay of the land, because being involved is a priority. And then after that, I think the other side of business for me now that is picked up is home life. I'm trying to prioritize, the world of a husband, the world of being a dad, and, trying to make sure that I give the same amount of attention and effort to that I do my job. So I'm trying to get home in the space of 6 or 6:30, and trying to eat dinner consistently with my family in LA. Have I succeeded? No. But if my wife sees this, she'll be happy at me reiterating what I told her that I'm trying to do. Sleep is something that I don't get a lot of. So that mobile command center that you're talking about acts as a napping station in between work meetings, etc. Or because driving and being on the phone is irritating, it allows me the free space to meet and talk freely without having to worry about driving and just not really being focused or in tune. So that's what that's about.
That's great. Thank you.
Quite the day.
And Scott, can I just say, for anybody who wants a taste of it, they should watch Don't F This Up on Netflix.
Yes.
That we produce. It gives you a glimpse into everything Kevin just said.
Absolutely. Melissa, thank you for your patience with me and coming over here. I wanted to build up to this because I find what you do so interesting from what I understand of it, that, there is so much content created around the world that has been, I think, not mine necessarily back here. And then when it happens once in a while and people are amazed, oh, there's The Office or Homeland or In Treatment, something that's done great overseas, and it just, I guess we shouldn't be as surprised that things might translate. And I understand that's a big part of your job, as the looking for international IP and bringing it here. And I know your background is also in distribution, and I just wonder if you can explain to people how it seems like kind of a new territory that is being explored in a way.
Well, backing up for a second, I think what Bryan was saying just about like how special this company is. And I mean, coming from the studio system, it's been so exciting to be part of this company, just because I think it's so representative of like the world we live in today. I mean, it's so amazing to be run by it's such a diverse group of people. And I think it's really reflective of like really the the world we're living in. And as you extend that even to international, I think it's easier to like walk the walk, you know, and to like bring that out into the world. And we are really a living example, I think, of this. The company is very exciting to be part of, just more or less. Mm-hmm. And I think there are so many unique perspectives and points of view in the world that are just have not really been expressed on the screen yet. And I think that that's what you're, you know, describing here is people are, yes, constantly surprised when they come across international content and they're like, oh, there is so much out there. And that's why it's exciting to be part of international. There's so many stories and authentic perspectives that, you know, that we would love to be part of and we're looking at. And I think, you know, HartBeat is a great place, you know, to be, you know, the home of a lot of it. And so that's kind of, you know, great stories can come from anywhere.
Yeah.
And, you know, and be enjoyed by everyone. So I think that's what we're looking for. And, you know, one of the things I think as well is that, you know, younger consumers have already started to embrace a lot of international content through social media, TikTok. And I think we're looking to build upon that, you know, with our interest in finding great IP and stories. And I think that we want to be ahead of the curve and not behind it. So that's a big thing for us. So I think we're such an interconnected world to begin with that it doesn't really make sense not to be drawing from this bigger pool. So, I mean, we're all interconnected to begin with. So,
yeah.
You know.
Well, and I wonder, I mean, I'm sure that those are thoughts that you guys have had for, you know, a while, but I wonder, it must have been supercharged when, Kevin, you have, you know, you take a French movie, The Untouchables, and turn it into The Upside, and people are surprised that it's a giant hit. I mean, there's just one of a million examples of where, you know, I think you can see the potential in things that are being done outside of the States. It's a much bigger world.
It is. You know, when you just start talking about the opportunity on an international level in general, it's huge, right? I mean, to talk about the expansion and development within relationships that allow us access into IPs or the world of remake and you know, having those relationships across the water that give us the opportunity to amplify these ideas. This is what Melissa is brought here for.
Yeah.
You know, this is why we added this piece to the puzzle, right? When you talk about expansion, you got to talk about the real tools and the right tools. And she's a tool. She's the right tool that we knew that we needed and one that we needed to get now as we're growing because it's happening so fast. So I'm excited about our world of international. I'm excited about the IP that, first of all, we've been able to grab and already just kind of hold on to from a deal-making perspective about some of the things that were done that we were looking to redo, remake, that we found out that were big hits. You know, for example, in China, some in France. And it's like, oh my God, if we can grab this and do it and put our spin on it, it would be huge. These ideas, these minds are the ones that help take you over the top. So the upside is just an example at the work that can be done and that will be done. And when done right, its level and opportunity for success is massive. I mean, you saw that within Bryan Cranston, Nicole Kidman, and myself.
And I would also just ask if anyone wants to weigh in on this. I mean, we also live in a time when there are more stats and numbers available to us than ever before of what people, you know, what countries around the world are most into Kevin. And I mean, there's a lot of them. And so I would imagine it works the other way too, where you can figure, you know, what would appeal to people in other parts of the world, not just what from the other parts of the world can you do something with, right?
Yeah, so Scott's going to piggyback on something because you're totally right. I think one, you know, Untouchables, massive, massive, massive global hit. I'm not sure most American audience have ever heard of it, right? Yeah. And obviously that story connected and translated pretty perfectly if you look at the box office from the upside. And the second part is, you know, CJ Entertainment that just brought Endeavor content. We were in bed with them for several years now. We have, you know, multiple projects with them, right? So I pat ourselves on the back for being a little bit ahead of the curve and recognizing that content out of certain territories can be greatly impactful here in America if done right. And then to the last point, without giving away any numbers, when you look at our film Fatherhood on Netflix, we did amazing numbers internationally. I think if people actually knew the stats, it would blow their mind about how big and how well that film performed overseas. And to your point, data really helps identify places that are working. And for us, we want to double down on those places where we can.
But you're looking, I mean, right now, and like you said, without saying stats, you don't have to say stats, but the information that's available, it's in Netflix's top 10 movies all time, right? We're talking about a drama, right? And if you go look at all the other movies on this list, you're talking about huge movies, big budgets, big action, big adventure, some comedy, action, and adventure are the projects. And then somehow drama, Kevin Hart's Fatherhood. And I think it's because of the international appeal, that I now have because of the success. So because of that knowledge that we now have, well, when we talk about our next project that we're producing with Netflix, Lift, well, the biggest priority in this project is the international opportunity, right? How do we make sure we check the boxes correctly? And the way that we're thinking things from in-house is exactly how our partners at Netflix think. Like, we don't think domestic, we think global, we think universal, we think big. And the best way to do that is to execute by having a IP piece of content project where you're able to involve and implement things that can be perceived, I guess you can say, good enough and appetizing for all, right?
Well, and in fact, you've said, Kevin, you've had great success releasing your stand-up in theaters, but you've said you're done with that because now it's only going to be through Netflix. Why was that?
Well, you know what? I mean, it's just about the opportunity to be seen globally, right? You're talking about 250 countries. I mean, you're talking about the opportunity worldwide. There's nothing like it. And when you see that and you understand that, well, there's a different directive and initiative that's now put in place. It's one, I think, that really just it adds security in your approach to developing and evolving and grabbing a much larger fan base, right? And I can say it's not about just the fan base of Kevin Hart now. It's how does HartBeat build a fan base? How do we as a company get people to be familiar with our want and our why? Ultimately, what's the definition of HartBeat Productions? Well, you know what? We're providing feel-good content on a global level, right? Ultimately, we want to tug on your heartstrings. So how do you walk away relating to the things that we do, feeling good about the things that we've done, and talking about it in a positive way? This is a priority for us underneath this umbrella, and thus far we're doing it right. We're not making any missteps, and I think the patient approach that we've taken has only put us in position to do much more and do it on such a big level.
Well, and the last 4 or 5 years, there's been so many kind of landmark moments I just want to mention, and then we can come back and talk about any that you guys want to specifically get into. But 2017 was the launch of Laugh Out Loud Network, which is your digital comedy stuff. Night School 2018 was the highest grossing opening weekend for a comedy in 2018. Kevin's 7th #1 opening movie. Dave, FX's most watched comedy ever. Zero Fucks Given 2020, Netflix's most watched comedy special in 2020. These are all things that came out of HartBeat in the last 4 years.
Yes. I mean, it's exciting times, but what I love and what I love the most about that, right? Like you're talking about Kevin Hart driven material. Well, these next 5 years, you're going to just be talking about material. You're just going to be talking about TV shows, movies, docuseries, documentaries. You're going to be talking about unscripted television. You're going to be talking about stand-up specials outside of me, but that the brand is produced and put on. I mean, you're truly going to have a catalog, an amazing portfolio of the talent that we now have access to. Kevin Hart is nothing more more than our bridge, our walk and guide to access all that we now want. I get us in all the rooms. We have the conversations, and my execs do a damn good job in closing and wrapping up opportunities. So it's not about the world of the star. That's secondary. It's about the machine. And I think that machine is going to be highlighted in a major way.
Oh, it seems like it. And I mean, I guess a very good case study, if we can all, anyone wants to weigh in, but just the true story, origin story. I mean, here's Kevin starring in something, and you guys producing it that is off to Netflix. Can we just talk about how this one in particular, since people are about to get to see it, how it came together through the company and just what it might be an example of for things to come?
Yeah, I'll give it a setup, and then after that, I'm gonna let Mike and Bryan kind of take over, because they were very hands on, and I wish Tiffany Bryan was on here as well, who was also hands on with the project. It started with an idea that I just sat in my office with, and I told them, I said, guys, I think I want to do a drama. And the long story short, they said, huh? I said, I want to do a drama. I want to kill somebody. And it was that serious. It was that simple. And they were like, okay. And I gave them a task of finding me the guy that did Narcos. I said, I'm such a fan of the show. I love how dark it is. I love how the stories are told. The character and the character development in these stories is insane. I want to talk to that guy. And when you can give a directive and your team is like done, and then they call you within 15 minutes and say, hey, can you meet anytime this week? And your answer is yes. And they say, okay, he's willing to come to your house. Who? Well, we found the writer, creator of Narcos. How? We just got it done. You said you want to talk to him, so he wants to talk. Okay, cool. Next thing I know, we're at my house, and he likes the thought concept behind me and drama and a thriller. And I told him, I said, look, this is an opportunity for major success for you and me if done right. It opens up another door for me in my career. And for you, you can be responsible for the guy that made Kevin a murderer in a way to where people believed it. So if you want that, then let's do it. And he said, let me take a crack at the idea. He came back within a week, 2 weeks maybe, and had an amazing pitch. I loved it. I then involved my team to where they could hear the pitch. We loved it. And then it became the world of development. And I took a step back and I allowed them to do what they do best, which is put their hands and their minds in it. And we got it to a place where we looked up and had 8 episodes later. And it was, of course, sold to Netflix. And, now here we are. But Bryan, Mike, I think just to the credit of course, Eric Newman, who's an amazing writer, from our side, they did a good job of being my eyes and ears and understanding my want for grounded, real, raw drama and getting it and vetting it to be that.
Bryan, Mike, you want to pick it up from there?
Mike, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing about, this particular project is obviously when we got Kevin in the center of it, it's going to move fast. So, putting this one together, posed different challenges in so much as, we still had to take the time, get all the right. We got great writers, a great room. We got great directors, to really bring this thing to life. But honestly, like Kevin said, this was an opportunity to do something different. People know Kevin, obviously, from his comedy. That's first and foremost always going to be the brand. But at the same time, Kevin started this from a point of view of, I want to do something different. And for us, like as a company, and as we continue to build the brand and build what a HartBeat show is, what a HartBeat movie could be, like that was something that was really important to us in this particular project.
So, I mean, I guess further looking to the future, just in our home stretch few minutes here, I want to ask you guys, I was amazed to learn about the facilities that are either now fully open or being created still for HartBeat. And Kevin, why, just what convinced you to make this particular kind of an investment? If you can share what is out there now for you guys.
What I did was I kind of assembled this early on. I'm good at seeing what can be down the line. And sometimes the opportunity may not be in front of you now, but the later, if done correct, will not only be available, but can be profitable. So I had the opportunity to grab these stages in Chatsworth years ago. And this is before that I had the business to put in them, right? This is just me grabbing a space that I wanted to rent, and that if I had some opportunities to do stuff, I could just do them there. Well, the business of HartBeat, Laugh Out Loud, started to grow, and these stages soon quickly became our hub for our own productions, right? And literally, when you look at the ecosystem that we're putting together and that we have, from TV to film to radio to literature to podcasting, I mean, really, really checking all the boxes. Even in a marketing component, these stages act as a hub for us to do all of these things and do it in a way to where we control. And, you know, the money that goes into that stays within this pipeline and ecosystem that's created for us. And it's just a wheelhouse now of consistent churn. So when you look at Cold as Balls, when you look at Heart to Heart, you know, my Audible originals that I've done, they've been on that stage. I mean, I can't tell you the endless amount of photo shoots that I've done there, from all of my work with some of the biggest magazines and some of the biggest spreads, to all of my brands that I'm attached with. And two, this is where we produce all of that content, all of those IP materials, marketing materials, et cetera. It happens on our stages.
Well, and I think too, like, I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier, which is, you know, ownership and control. And having those stages, you know, really allows us to have control over our productions in a way that other companies can't, you know, especially with the number of shows that are out right now. Fighting for studio space is next to impossible. You know, Kevin owns these stages. We know when it comes to our productions, we're not going to get boxed out. We're not going to have to go and overpay for some, you know, soundstage somewhere else.
No, it's incredible to be self-sufficient. I mean, there's who else? Like Tyler Perry and maybe Oprah. That's about it. So that's pretty cool. And I guess lastly, if I would just go around the horn, if you want to start us off, Melissa, and we'll work our way back to Kevin. Just for each of you, what do you hope the future holds for this company in terms of what is the bar that you feel you need to meet or sustain in order to call your area of work in the company success?
Well, I mean, just being able to get the HartBeat name outside of Kevin, like obviously to have it, you know, have value, you know, outside of this country, to like be a known entity, you know, to the average person, you know, to have brand value. Mm-hmm. I mean, that would be, you know, hitting the mark.
Absolutely. Bryan?
Yeah, I mean, I think to Melissa's point, they're really, you know, growing the brand in a way where when someone sees that logo on the screen, whether it be the big screen or the small screen, they have an emotional reaction to it in a positive way. They know they're about to watch something of exceptional quality. And I think, you know, building a strong brand in this town, as you know, Scott, is not easy, but literally it's what we all are obsessed with. So that's the goal. And if we can accomplish that, which we will, I'll be a very, very happy person.
Nice. Mike?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think we're all going to probably say a variation of the same thing, which is probably a good sign as a company. But it really is, you know, about building that brand and making sure that, you know, when people go see people go see a Kevin Hart starring movie, they're going to see Kevin Hart. They know what they're going to get. We want that same level of attraction and credibility when they see a HartBeat branded movie or TV show. You know, we want to be talked right up there with the Bad Robots, the Bruckheimers, you know, every other big name producer that, you know, signifies quality.
Yeah. And Kevin, I guess just same question, but also would it be a bigger sign of success if, you know, 5 years from now, you're getting more or less sleep?
I mean, I think it's going to be a bigger sign. It's a bigger sign of success, right? I think the level of excitement could probably keep me up as to what they're doing underneath that hood in HartBeat. But, you know, I truly do trust in my team. You know, I trust in the personnel that I've been privileged enough to onboard and paint a picture that they all saw with me, right? It's about empowering and not micromanaging and not getting in your own way by getting in their way. One thing that I say and I pride myself on is I don't have employees. I don't have you know, I don't have people that I call my workers. I have partners, and at our company we're very big on the we, not the I. It's about us. It's about what we can do together, what we do together, and how we look together. Because of that mindset, we've created an amazing work environment, and one where everybody feels valued, everybody feels included, and you know, our dialogue is straightforward and crystal clear. So, you know, when you talk about the world of me getting rest, I believe that I'm gonna have ample time to do that, once again, because of the trust in my partners and what they're doing and what they're going to do.
Well, can't thank you guys enough. And I know our viewers, listeners are going to have enjoyed this rare opportunity to go inside the workings of HartBeat, and best of luck moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.